The crystal caves beneath Queen Lyra's palace had never felt so cold. She knelt beside the massive form of Vorth, her dragon companion, watching the light fade from his translucent scales. Each breath he took seemed harder than the last, and the soft humming sound he made when content had turned into painful wheezes. Vorth had been with her for 300 years. When she was just a young princess learning to rule, he had been the one to teach her how to listen to her people's thoughts across vast distances. His mind connected with hers, making her telepathic powers strong enough to reach every corner of her empire. Together they had built something beautiful, a civilization where conflicts were solved through understanding rather than war. Now he was dying, and she felt helpless. The royal doctors had done everything they could. They called his sickness void blight, a disease that ate away at energy-based life forms from the inside. It turned his beautiful crystal scales gray and made the mental connection between them weaker each day. Soon she would lose not just her oldest friend, but her ability to rule wisely. "My lady," her advisor Tren spoke softly behind her. "The responses from the Keth Empire have arrived." Queen Lyra did not turn around. She already knew what the message would say. For months, she had sent desperate pleas across the galaxy to every advanced civilization she could reach. She had offered treasures beyond imagination, promised trade agreements, even offered parts of her territory. The answer was always the same. "They refused again, didn't they?" she asked, her hand gently stroking Vorth's massive head. "I'm afraid so, Your Majesty. They say their bioengineers are working on more important projects." Tren's voice carried the same frustration she felt. The Quantum Collective also sent their final answer. They claim that dragons are too primitive for their scientists to study. Queen Lyra closed her eyes. The Keth Empire had the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy. If anyone could cure void blight, it would be them. But they saw her request as beneath their notice. To them, Vorth was just an animal, not worth their time or effort. The Healers Guild had been even worse. They had actually offered to help, but their price was her entire space fleet. They knew she could not rule without those ships to keep peace between her worlds. It was like asking her to cut off her arms to save her heart. "What about the others?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "The Zen Republic says they are in meditation for the next 5 years and cannot be disturbed. The Trade Federation claims they have no experience with crystal-based life forms. The Stellar Assembly..." Tren paused. They didn't even respond. To our last 3 messages. Vorth stirred slightly, his great eye opening to look at her. Even through their weakening bond, she could feel his love and his sadness. He knew he was dying. He also knew what his death would mean for her people. Without their telepathic connection, Queen Lyra could not reach the minds of her citizens across dozens of worlds. Her empire was built on trust and communication, not fear and force. When Vorth died, that communication would die with him. Her worlds would become isolated, suspicious of each other. Wars would start. Billions would suffer. "There must be someone," she whispered, pressing her forehead against Vorth's warm crystal scales. "Someone in this vast galaxy who cares more about life than politics." Tren shifted uncomfortably. "My lady, there is one more option, but..." He hesitated. "Tell me." "The humans. They're new to space travel, only about 50 years. Most of the galaxy doesn't take them seriously. They have no great fleets, no advanced technology that we don't already have. But they did respond to our general distress call. Queen Lyra had heard of humans but knew little about them. They came from a small blue world on the edge of civilized space. Most species considered them curiosities at best, nuisances at worst. They had no great empire, no impressive military, no scientists famous across the galaxy. What did they say? Just that they received our message and would like to help if they can. Nothing formal, no demands for payment. It came from something called a research vessel. For the first time in days, Queen Lyra felt a tiny spark of hope. It was probably foolish. What could a young species possibly do that the greatest civilizations in the galaxy could not? But Vorth was dying, and she had run out of options. "Send them our coordinates," she said. Tell them about Vorth's condition. Be honest about how serious it is. My lady, are you certain? If word spreads that we're asking humans for help, it might damage our reputation with the major powers. Queen Lyra looked into Vorth's fading eyes and felt their mental bond flicker like a candle in the wind. Her reputation meant nothing if her oldest friend died and her empire fell into chaos. Send the message, Tren. Tell them everything. As her advisor left to compose the transmission, Queen Lyra settled down beside Vorth for another long night of watching and waiting. She had tried everything else. Now she would place her faith in a species most of the galaxy dismissed as primitive. She had no idea that this decision would change everything. The crystal caves grew darker as night fell outside. Vorth's breathing became more labored, and Queen Lyra felt tears running down her face. 300 years of friendship, of shared thoughts and dreams, might soon come to an end. All because the greatest civilizations in the galaxy were too proud, too busy, or too greedy to help. But somewhere in the darkness of space, a small human research vessel was changing course, its crew already working to understand a problem they had never seen before. They had no guarantee of payment, no promise of reward. They were coming simply because someone had asked for help. Queen Lyra did not know this yet. She only knew that her dragon was dying, her empire was at risk, and she had placed her last hope in the hands of strangers. As she held vigil through the night, she could only pray that somewhere among the stars, someone still cared about doing what was right. Dr. Emma Rodriguez was having her morning coffee when the message that would change her life appeared on her screen. The research vessel Endeavor was 3 days into studying crystal formations around the star Vega, and Emma had expected another routine day of sample analysis. Instead, she found herself reading the most heartbreaking plea she had ever encountered. "Tom, you need to see this," she called to her colleague at the next workstation. Dr. Tom Bradley, a mining engineer who specialized in crystal structures, looked up from his own research. Emma forwarded him the transmission from Queen Lyra and watched his expression change as he read about the dying dragon and the desperate queen who loved him. "This is incredible," Tom said, scrolling through the detailed descriptions of Vorth's condition. "A crystal-based life form with telepathic abilities? And this void blight disease sounds like some kind of energy cascade failure." Emma nodded, already pulling up databases of xenobiology research. "What breaks my heart is that no one is helping her. Look at these response logs. The Keth Empire, the Quantum Collective, the Healers Guild, they all turned her down." "Well, we're not turning her down," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Captain Rivers approaching their workstation. The Endeavor's commander was a practical man in his 50s who had spent most of his career exploring the frontier worlds that larger civilizations ignored. He had been reading the transmission over their shoulders. "Captain, with all due respect, we're just a research vessel," Tom said. "We don't have the kind of advanced medical equipment that Queen Lyra needs." "Maybe not," Captain Rivers replied. "But we have something those other species seem to lack. We give a damn." Emma felt a surge of pride in her species. This was exactly the kind of response she had hoped for, but hardly dared to expect. "What do you want us to do?" "Contact every human research station, university, and medical facility you can reach. This queen is asking for help, and by God, we're going to try to give it to her." Over the next 6 hours, Emma sent out dozens of messages across human space. She explained Queen Lyra's situation, described Vorth's condition in detail, and asked for any expertise that might help. She expected maybe a few polite responses expressing sympathy, but offering little real assistance. Instead, her communication system was flooded with replies. Dr. Alan Foster, a veterinarian from the Mars colony, volunteered immediately. He had spent his career treating alien species that human explorers brought back from distant worlds. "I've never seen anything like this dragon," his message read. "But sick is sick, and I've made a career out of helping sick animals feel better." Lisa Kim, a quantum engineer fresh from her PhD at Luna University, sent detailed theories about energy-based life forms and possible treatments. "This might be my chance to test some ideas I've been working on," she wrote. "When do we leave?" The response from Earth Medical Central amazed Emma most of all. Instead of bureaucratic delays and demands for payment, they simply said, "Tell us what you need. We'll have it ready within 12 hours. Even more surprising were the messages from ordinary humans. A mining crew from the asteroid belt offered to donate their rare crystal samples. A merchant ship captain volunteered to carry supplies. Retired scientists who had been out of active research for years suddenly wanted to contribute their knowledge. "This is incredible," Emma told Captain Rivers as more responses poured in. "It's like the entire human space community wants to help." "That's because they do," Captain Rivers replied. "Set course for the Astral Dominion, and send a message to Queen Lyra. Tell her we're coming and we're bringing friends." The journey to Queen Lyra's palace took 4 days. During that time, Emma worked with volunteers across human space to understand everything they could about crystal-based life forms and energy diseases. Tom Bradley analyzed the mineral compositions of Vorth scales from the data Queen Lyra had provided. Dr. Foster studied behavioral patterns of Earth creatures that might be similar to dragons. When they arrived at the Crystal Palace, Emma was nervous. They were about to meet an alien queen whose civilization was thousands of years older than theirs. What if their primitive human science seemed foolish to her? What if they had raised her hopes for nothing? Queen Lyra met them at the entrance to the Crystal Caves, and Emma's first impression was of profound sadness. The queen's eyes held the weight of someone watching a loved one die slowly. But when she saw the humans approaching, something changed in her expression. "You came," Queen Lyra said simply. "Of course we came," Emma replied. "You asked for help." The queen led them deeper, into the caves toward where Vorth lay dying. As they walked, she spoke quietly about their long friendship, about the telepathic bond that connected them, about what his death would mean for her people. Emma found herself crying for a dragon she had never met, and a queen she barely knew. When they entered Vorth's chamber, the team fell silent. The dragon was beautiful even in sickness, his crystal scales catching and reflecting the cave's soft light. But Emma could see the gray spreading through his body, and feel the sadness that filled the entire space. "He's magnificent," Dr. Foster said softly, approaching the dragon with the gentle confidence of someone who had spent his life around animals. "Hello there, big fellow. We're here to help." To everyone's surprise, Vorth's great eye opened and focused on the humans. Through their weakening bond, Queen Lyra felt something she hadn't expected: curiosity. Her dragon was interested in these strange new visitors who smelled different from any species he had encountered. "He likes you," Queen Lyra said, wonder in her voice. Lisa Kim was already setting up her equipment, scanning Vorth with instruments that hummed and beeped softly. Tom Bradley examined the crystal formations around the cave, looking for clues about how dragon biology worked. Dr. Foster simply sat beside Vorth, talking to him in the gentle tone he used with all his patients. "We're going to figure this out," Emma told Queen Lyra with more confidence than she felt. "I don't know how yet, but we're going to save him." For the first time in months, Queen Lyra smiled. She had been refused by the greatest civilizations in the galaxy, dismissed by species with technology far beyond anything these humans possessed. But here they were, working with determination and compassion to help a creature they had never seen before. Maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. 3 days had passed since the human team arrived, and Queen Lyra watched them work with growing amazement. Unlike the cold, clinical scientists from other species who had visited before, these humans treated Vorth like a beloved pet rather than a research subject. Dr. Foster sat beside the dragon every morning, checking his breathing and temperature while talking to him in soothing tones. "How are we feeling today, big guy? I know you're tired, but we're going to get you better." Vorth seemed to respond to the gentle attention, his great eye following the veterinarian around the chamber. Emma spent hours observing Vorth's behavior, taking notes on every movement, every sound, every flicker of his crystal scales. She noticed things that other scientists had missed, like how the dragon's scales glowed brighter whenever Queen Lyra touched him, or how his breathing became more regular when she spoke to him telepathically. "The bond between you two is stronger than anyone realized," Emma told Queen Lyra during one of their conversations. Other scientists saw Vorth as just another alien creature. They didn't understand that he's connected to you in ways that go beyond simple telepathy. Lisa Kim worked day and night with her quantum equipment, scanning Vorth from every angle. Her readings showed energy patterns unlike anything in the scientific databases. "This is incredible," she muttered, studying the data. His entire body is essentially a living quantum computer. No wonder he can amplify telepathic abilities. Tom Bradley explored the crystal caves, examining the formations that surrounded Vorth's resting place. He noticed that some crystals were natural cave formations, while others seemed to have grown from Vorth himself over the centuries. "Queen Lyra," he called out one afternoon, "can you tell me about these crystals? Did Vorth create them?" The Queen joined him beside a cluster of particularly beautiful formations. Yes, when he was younger and healthier, he would sometimes shed crystal fragments. They would grow into these formations over time. I always thought they were just decorative. Tom's eyes lit up with excitement. These aren't just decorative. They're storage devices. Look at how they're arranged, how they resonate with each other. Vorth has been unconsciously creating a network to store and amplify energy. This discovery led to Emma's breakthrough. She was studying the patterns in Tom's crystal network when she noticed something strange. The formations were arranged in a specific pattern, one that reminded her of something she had seen before. "Lisa, come look at this," Emma called, pointing to her tablet screen. "These crystal formations, they're arranged like a planetary core structure." Lisa examined the data and gasped. "You're right. It's like Vorth is trying to recreate something, but what?" Queen Lyra overheard their conversation and approached slowly. "I think I know," she said quietly. "Our homeworld Crystallis was destroyed 300 years ago when our sun went supernova. Vorth and I escaped along with a few thousand of our people, but our planet died." The pieces suddenly fell into place for Emma. "That's it. Vorth isn't just sick, he's homesick. Dragons must have been connected to your planet's core somehow. When Crystallis was destroyed, that connection was broken." Tom nodded excitedly. "The void blight isn't really a disease, it's starvation. Vorth has been slowly dying because he's cut off from his original energy source." Dr. Foster looked up from where he was checking Vorth's vital signs. "So he's been surviving on willpower and love for 300 years? No wonder he's exhausted." Lisa ran calculations on her quantum computer, her face growing more serious with each result. "If we're right about this, then curing Vorth means recreating the quantum signature of an entire planetary core. That's supposed to be impossible." "Impossible for who?" Emma asked with a grin that Queen Lyra was beginning to recognize as distinctly human. Over the following days, the team worked to understand exactly what they were dealing with. Lisa's scans revealed that Vorth's body contained quantum traces of his original homeworld, like genetic memories encoded in crystal. Tom's analysis of the cave formations showed that Vorth had been unconsciously trying to recreate his planet's energy patterns for centuries. Dr. Foster made his own important discovery. "Vorth isn't just connected to Queen Lyra's mind," he told the team. "He's connected to her life force. That's why he's held on this long. He's been drawing strength from her love for him." This explained why Queen Lyra had been growing weaker as Vorth's condition worsened. She was literally sharing her life energy with him, keeping him alive through their bond even as it drained her own strength. "We need to work fast," Emma realized. "If we don't find a solution soon, we might lose them both." The solution, when it came, was typically human in its audacious simplicity. Lisa was studying her quantum readings when she suddenly sat up straight. "I have an idea," she announced. "It's completely crazy, but it might work." "Crazy how?" Tom asked. "What if we don't try to recreate Vorth's original planet? What if we create a new energy source for him instead? A distributed quantum network that can provide the same kind of core connection he needs?" Emma caught on immediately. "Using human technology, our quantum drives, our ships, our people." "Exactly. We get every human vessel in this sector to link their quantum drives together. Create an artificial planetary core using our combined technology." Tom whistled softly. "The coordination required would be incredible. And the risk is worth it," Dr. Foster said firmly. his hand resting gently on Vorth's massive head. "This guy has been fighting for 3 centuries. The least we can do is fight for him." Queen Lyra had listened to their discussion with growing wonder. These humans, with their primitive technology and young civilization, were proposing something that the galaxy's greatest minds had declared impossible. More than that, they were volunteering their own ships and people to make it work. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why would you risk so much for someone you barely know?" Emma's answer was simple and utterly human. "Because you asked for help, and we've never been good at saying no to someone who needs us." As the team began planning their impossible rescue mission, Vorth stirred and opened his great eye. For just a moment, through their weakening bond, Queen Lyra felt something new from her oldest friend, Hope. The command center aboard the Endeavor had never seen so much activity. Emma watched in amazement as the response to their call for help exceeded every expectation. Within 12 hours of Lisa's proposal to create a distributed quantum network, human vessels across 3 star systems had volunteered to participate in the rescue mission. "This is incredible," Captain Rivers said, reviewing the latest reports. The cargo hauler New Horizons changed course from the Centauri trade route. The research vessel Explorer is coming from the Outer Rim. Even the military patrol ship Guardian is joining us. Dr. Foster looked up from his medical preparations. "How many ships total?" 47 so far, and more keep volunteering," Emma replied. "Everything from merchant vessels to scientific stations. The Mars orbital platform is even offering to anchor one end of the quantum network." Lisa Kim was coordinating the technical aspects of their plan, and her excitement was infectious. "Each ship will sync their quantum drive to a specific frequency. When we activate the network, it should create a stable energy field similar to a planetary core, at least in theory." Tom Bradley had been working with Queen Lyra to understand exactly what Vorth needed. "The crystal formations in the caves will act as receivers," he explained to the team. "If our artificial core works, Vorth should be able to draw energy through them just like he did from his original homeworld." The plan was ambitious beyond anything humans had attempted before. It required precise coordination across light years of space, perfect timing from dozens of ships, and technology that had never been tested under these conditions. Most species would have declared it impossible and given up. Humans started making lists and assigning tasks. Captain Rivers took charge of coordinating the ship movements. Each vessel needed to be positioned exactly right to create the proper quantum field geometry. "It's like conducting an orchestra," he told Emma, "except the musicians are scattered across half the galaxy, and we're playing a song no one has ever heard before." Emma worked with Queen Lyra to monitor Vorth's condition and ensure they would know if the treatment was working. The dragon's health had continued to decline, and they were running out of time. "He's holding on," Queen Lyra said during one of their vigils, "but I can feel him getting weaker." Dr. Foster had prepared emergency medical procedures in case the quantum treatment caused unexpected reactions. "We're essentially giving him a transfusion of artificial planetary energy," he explained. "His body might need time to adjust." The technical preparations were staggering. Lisa Kim worked with quantum engineers across human space to calibrate the network. Each ship needed to modify their drives to broadcast on specific frequencies. The margin for error was incredibly small. "If even one ship is off frequency, the entire network could collapse," Lisa warned during a briefing. "And if the network fails while Vorth is drawing energy from it, the feedback could kill him instantly." Despite the risks, not a single human volunteer backed out. 3 days before the scheduled activation, disaster nearly struck. The merchant vessel Prosperity reported that their quantum drive had suffered a malfunction. Without their participation, there would be a gap in the network that could cause the entire system to fail. "We need a replacement ship in that exact position," Lisa said grimly, "but there's nothing close enough to reach the coordinates in time." That's when the most surprising volunteer of all stepped forward. The luxury liner Star Princess, carrying 500 passengers on a pleasure cruise, diverted from their planned route to fill the gap in the network. "But the passengers," Emma protested when she heard about the change. "They signed up for a vacation, Not a dangerous rescue mission. Captain Rivers smiled as he showed her the passenger manifest. Read the, latest update. Emma's eyes widened as she saw the message from Star Princess. Passengers voted unanimously to join rescue mission. Quote from passenger representative. We came out here to see something amazing. This is the most amazing thing we've ever heard. The day of the activation dawned clear and bright on Queen Lyra's world. In the crystal caves, the human team made final preparations while Queen Lyra stayed close to Vorth. The dragon's breathing had become so labored that Dr. Foster wasn't sure he would survive another day without treatment. All ships report ready, Captain Rivers announced over the communication system. Network activation begins in 60 seconds. Lisa Kim monitored the quantum field generators with intense concentration. Remember, we need to build the field gradually. If we try to create full power too quickly, the network will be unstable. Tom Bradley watched his crystal formations, which would serve as the interface between the artificial planetary core and Vorth's body. Crystals are responding to preliminary frequencies, ready for activation. Emma held her breath as Captain Rivers gave the final command. All ships, begin quantum field generation. Start at 10% power and increase gradually. Across 3 star systems, 47 human vessels simultaneously activated modified quantum drives. On the luxury liner, passengers pressed against windows to watch their ship's contribution to the rescue. On cargo haulers and research vessels, crews worked with focused determination to maintain precise frequencies. In the crystal caves, Tom's formations began to glow with soft, pulsing light. The glow grew brighter as more ships added their power to the network, creating patterns of energy that danced across the cave walls. It's working, Lisa breathed, watching her instruments show the formation of a stable quantum field. The network is holding together. But Vorth hadn't responded yet. He lay motionless, his breathing shallow and irregular. Queen Lyra placed her hand on his massive head, feeling through their bond that he was still slipping away. Increase power. To 50%, Captain Rivers ordered. The crystal formations blazed brighter, and suddenly Vorth stirred. His great eye opened, and for the first time in weeks, Queen Lyra felt their mental connection strengthen instead of weaken. He can sense it, she said wonderingly. He knows there's energy available, but he's afraid to take it. He's been starving for so long. Dr. Foster approached the dragon slowly. It's okay, big guy. This energy is for you. Take what you need. As if he understood the gentle words, Vorth began to draw power from the artificial planetary core that 47 human ships had created for him. His crystal scales brightened, the gray patches of void blight beginning to recede as healthy energy flowed through his body. It's working, Emma whispered, tears streaming down her face. He's getting better. Queen Lyra felt the change through their renewed bond. For the first time in months, Vorth's thoughts were clear and strong. More than that, she could sense something new, a connection not just to her dragon but to the humans whose ships were saving his life. The rescue was working, but none of them were prepared for what would happen next. The transformation was like watching a miracle unfold in real time. Queen Lyra knelt beside Vorth as his crystal scales brightened from dull gray back to their original brilliant translucence. The artificial planetary core that 47 human ships had created was working beyond their wildest hopes. But something unexpected was happening as well. Lisa, are you seeing this? Emma called, staring at her monitoring equipment in amazement. The quantum signatures aren't just stabilizing Vorth's energy patterns, they're creating new connections. Lisa Kim checked her instruments and gasped. The network isn't just feeding energy to Vorth. It's creating quantum entanglement between him and every ship in the network. Queen Lyra suddenly sat up straight, her eyes wide with wonder. Through her bond with Vorth, she could feel something incredible happening. The dragon's renewed strength was flowing back through their connection, but now that connection extended beyond just the two of them. For the first time in her life, Queen Lyra could sense the thoughts and emotions of another species. She felt Captain Rivers's steady determination as he coordinated the rescue from the Endeavor's bridge. She sensed Emma's scientific curiosity mixed with genuine care for Vorth's well-being. Dr. Foster's gentle compassion for all living creatures touched her heart. Lisa's excitement at witnessing something that should have been impossible made her smile. Most amazing of all, she could feel the emotions of humans across 3 star systems. The passengers on Star Princess were laughing and crying with joy as they watched Vorth's recovery through their ship's connection to the network. The crew of a distant cargo hauler felt deep satisfaction at using their vessel to save a life, instead of just moving freight. Even the military personnel on the Guardian were moved by the simple act of helping someone in need. "This is incredible," Queen Lyra whispered. "I can feel all of you. Not just your thoughts, but your hearts." Dr. Foster approached slowly, his medical scanner showing that Vorth's vital signs were stronger than they had been in months. "How do you feel, Your Majesty?" "Different. Better. Complete." Queen Lyra placed her hand on Vorth's head and felt their bond stronger than it had ever been. But now it was more than just a bond between dragon and rider. It connected them to something larger, a network of beings who had chosen compassion over indifference. Tom Bradley was studying the crystal formations, which now pulsed with steady, healthy light. The network is stabilizing into a permanent configuration. Vorth won't need all 47 ships to maintain the connection indefinitely. Maybe a dozen vessels could provide enough power to keep him healthy. "We'll maintain full network strength for now," Captain Rivers decided, "until we're certain he's completely recovered." Over the following days, Vorth's recovery continued to amaze everyone. The void blight that had been eating away at his crystal body disappeared entirely. His telepathic abilities returned to full strength, allowing Queen Lyra to reconnect with her people across dozens of worlds. But the most remarkable change was the new connection they shared with their human rescuers. Emma found herself in the unique position of being humanity's first telepathic contact with another species. Through the quantum network, she could sense Queen Lyra's gratitude and Vorth's contentment. More importantly, she could feel the dragon's curiosity about his new human friends. "He wants to meet all of you properly," Queen Lyra translated during one of their conversations, not just as voices over communication systems, but face-to-face. This led to the most unusual diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from every ship in the rescue network were invited to Queen Lyra's palace. Cargo hauler captains found themselves dining with alien royalty. Research scientists compared notes with a queen whose civilization was thousands of years old. Military officers played with a dragon who could read their thoughts. The political implications rippled across known space faster than light. Word spread that the mysterious humans had accomplished what the galaxy's greatest civilizations had declared impossible. More importantly, they had done it not for profit or political advantage, but simply because someone had asked for help. The Keth Empire, which had dismissed Queen Lyra's pleas as beneath their notice, suddenly wanted to establish trade relations with humanity. The Quantum Collective, which had called dragons primitive, sent urgent requests to study the human quantum network technology. The Healers Guild offered to share their medical knowledge in exchange for access to human compassion protocols, apparently believing that caring about patients was a technique that could be learned. Queen Lyra's response to these sudden diplomatic overtures was swift and clear. Any species that wanted relations with the astral dominion would need to establish them through humanity first. "These humans came to help when no one else would," she announced to the Galactic Council. "They risked their ships and their lives for a creature they had never met, asking nothing in return. If you want to deal with my people, you will first prove to them that you understand the value of simple kindness." The transformation of galactic politics was remarkable, but the personal relationships formed during the rescue meant even more. Emma found herself with a standing invitation to study crystal-based life forms in the astral dominion. Dr. Foster was offered the position of royal veterinarian, though he chose to stay with his practice treating animals across human space. Lisa, Kim's quantum network research became the foundation for a new field of interspecies communication technology. Tom Bradley established the first human mining operations in Dominion space, working with crystalline formations that sang to him through quantum resonance. Captain Rivers received the greatest honor of all, Vorth himself chose the captain as his official human liaison. Through Queen Lyra's translation, the dragon expressed his desire to visit Earth and meet the people whose compassion had saved his life. 6 months after the rescue, Vorth made his first journey to Earth. The sight of a crystal dragon playing in the snow with human children in Central Park became one of the most famous images in galactic history. Queen Lyra, watching her oldest friend's joy at discovering new types of friendship, realized that the rescue had given them both far more than just renewed health. The quantum network that had saved Vorth's life remained active, maintained by volunteers from across human space who took pride in their role as keepers of an impossible miracle. Through that network, the first truly telepathic bond between species continued to grow stronger. Emma Rodriguez, now Director of Interspecies Relations for the Human Colonial Council, often returned to Queen Lyra's crystal caves to visit Vorth and marvel at what they had accomplished together. The dragon would greet her with warm thoughts of gratitude and friendship, while Queen Lyra shared tea and stories of how their two species continued to learn from each other. But Emma's favorite moments were the quiet ones, when she could feel, through the quantum network, the contentment of a dragon who was no longer dying alone, and the happiness of a queen whose faith in the kindness of strangers had been rewarded beyond her wildest dreams. In a galaxy full of ancient powers and cosmic politics, the rescue of Queen Lyra's dragon had proved a simple truth. Sometimes the most revolutionary act is refusing to let others suffer when you have the power to help. It was a lesson that humanity taught the galaxy, one impossible rescue at a time.